Good evening, prospective parents, and welcome to this informal online session, something which is new for us at Clifton. My name is Victor Kurtz. I'm the headmaster of Clifton Preparatory School, Nottingham Road, and I have been for the past 6 years. And I want to share with you this little gem called Clifton Notties, as is it known, a school oozing magic out of every pore. Home to incredibly talented staff who commit themselves to the idea of an all-round, holistic education, a school blessed with the most amazing facilities and resources. Our boarding facilities offer a home-from-home experience for our boys and girls from all over the world. You have to see it, to feel it, and to believe it for yourself. And so we really are excited to field some questions that you may have at the end of this short video, and we really do hope that you enjoy it.
Imagine a school where playing, exploring,
and outdoor learning on an idyllic 60-hectare campus
are indistinguishable.
Picture a school
where young boys and girls grow intellectually,
morally, spiritually, into happy, grounded, self-assured individuals.
Nestled in the beautiful KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, Clifton Nottingham Road provides a world-class independent education for boys and girls from grades 00 to 7 in a charming country setting. Boarders from 6 countries call Clifton home. Central to the Clifton journey of self-discovery are hands-on opportunities for extension and inspiration in a range of outstanding academic, sporting and cultural facilities. The focus of the Clifton community is that a Clifton child should leave our gates as a well-balanced, lifelong learner with a firm set of core values and moral principles. How we get there is an adventure in itself.
We know that the carefree aspect of childhood is under threat, and we believe that a truly holistic approach to education is vital to safeguard our children against the demands and pressures of the 21st century and at the same time equip them to cope with the ever-shifting world beyond our gates. We place a great deal of emphasis on developing a curriculum that offers our children a balanced diet of academics, sporting and cultural activities, as well as sprinkling into their days a healthy dose of opportunity to explore and discover through play and adventure.
Abraham Maslow may have found a perfect case study at Clifton Notties, where safety, love and belonging, esteem and self-actualization are at the core of our very intentional pastoral structures. Our teachers teach to their passions and focus on the personal growth of their charges. Given the successes of our children at high school and beyond, there is no doubt that they have been infused with a passion for lifelong learning and personal development during their years in this idyllic place.
Speaking of an idyllic place, our campus lends itself to outdoor activities, and Clifton staff appreciate the flexibility and promise of adventure beyond the walls of the formal classroom setting. Opportunities for growth and learning exist everywhere in our 60-hectare classroom, from our on-campus riding school to the forests and dams which abound our estate.
No holistic education can be complete without an exciting expressive arts program. Our Expressive Arts Department comprises a dynamic and experienced team of music, drama and visual arts teachers with specialist training in their respective areas of expertise. We just know that our programs allow creative opportunity for boys and girls to develop key skills in confidence, collaboration, communication and critical thinking. Our vibrant calendar is awash with exhibitions, concerts, recitals and dramatic productions which give expression to previously undiscovered flares.
Sports sessions take place twice weekly, and our grade 1 and 2 boys and girls participate in a variety of mini festivals throughout the year. Friendly inter-house rivalry between our little barbarians, Trojans and Crusaders is ignited in grade 1, and this healthy competition is sustained until grade 7.
Few aspects of life in any school can provide more educational opportunities than sport, which takes on a more competitive edge during the senior primary years. The number of options available is expanded to include tennis, hardball cricket, rugby, squash and basketball, and our sportsmen and women participate in a full program of midweek and Saturday fixtures. Our world-class heated swimming pool, championship glass-back squash courts and all-weather indoor centre are the icing on the cake of 5 playing fields and tracts of open space to develop strength, fitness and endurance. While individual sporting pursuits are encouraged, team sports underpin our philosophy of the collective good.
There is magic at Clifton, something beyond the power of words to explain. I have witnessed the wonder of Clifton's nurturing, holistic approach to education in my own children, and I'm privileged to be able to play a role in ensuring that the same is true for all families that pass through our gates.
Clifton may appear to some to be something of a time warp. Modern facilities nestle comfortably along charming period buildings, the backdrop against which we celebrate our heritage of old-school non-negotiables in our core values of integrity, wholehearted effort, tolerance, fair play, honesty, good citizenship and manners. Boys and girls at Clifton Notties have access to one of the most beautiful campuses on the continent, with acres and acres demanding exploration, forests beckoning adventure, and trees just waiting to be climbed. Foraging for conkers during conker season, building forts in top woods, whizzing down Bobsleigh Hill, fishing in Cliff's Dam, reading a book under a tree, or extending body and mind on our adventure-themed Project Braveheart obstacle course are all in a holistic day's work at Clifton Nottingham Road.
Steeped in 78 years of tradition, the real value of a Clifton education remains an environment where a rare balance has been struck between a forward-thinking progressive education and the priceless opportunity for young boys and girls to savor the wonder of childhood. Experience the unbelievable world of Clifton magic for yourself.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Clifton Notties question and answer live session. We're thrilled that you could give up your time to join us, and we're most grateful to you. My name is Pete Quinn. I'm the Deputy Headmaster, a role which I love having and love fulfilling, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the remainder of the team. On my left, Mr. Victor Kurtz, our Headmaster.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. I really look forward to chatting with you and answering questions as they appear, but lovely having you. Thank you for joining us.
Next, Mr. Justice Majolo, Head of Boarding.
You guys here, thank you.
Lorna Brewer as our Junior Primary Head.
Hello, everyone.
And Mrs. Kerry Witherspoon as our Head of Marketing.
Evening, everyone.
Folks, as per the video, please do feel free to pop any questions that you may have generated from the video, indeed by your understanding of what Clifton is and what Clifton is about. And please type those in as we go along, and I'll do my very best to serve as MC as we go along. Excuse the headphones, it is my first time pretending to be a Formula One race pit commentator, so we'll see how we go there too. While we wait for the questions to come in, I wonder perhaps if we could address one of the elephants in the room, and that's a thing which many schools don't talk about, and that's bullying or habits of bullying. At Clifton, I must just assure you, one of my roles as pastoral head is to take care of the implementation of our hurt-free policy. It's something we pride ourselves on. It would be naive to say that unright or unjust behaviour doesn't happen in schools, and it is one thing to be very, very mindful of and mindful of trying to eradicate. The process for this anti-bullying process or hurt-free policy starts down in the JP, and perhaps I could ask Mrs. Brewer just to explain how our psychomotor program works. This is the foundation and the root of our philosophy. Mrs. Brewer?
Thank you, Pete. Yes, I'd love to have this opportunity to chat to you all more about our psychomotor program, something that we really feel strongly about in the junior primary. It really takes place in the pre-primary years, so double naught and naught littlies are part of this program. We're fortunate enough to have 2 teachers within our junior primary that are qualified psychomotor teachers. But you may have seen the little clip in the video. I'm not sure whether you would have noticed it, but we are also so fortunate to have a very specially designed psychomotor room to enable us to really run the program to its full. The thinking behind it, Pete, and you know, he alluded to the fact that it's a hurt-free policy, is to allow little people to emotionally develop the skills necessary to resolve conflict in a hurt-free manner. And it's done in a way that they play. They actually have no idea that they're learning at the same time, but it's in a completely non-directed manner. So the teacher is there in a supportive role, and the little ones play along with 3 very, very simple rules. And that is that we don't hurt ourselves, we don't hurt others, and we respect the equipment. And it's amazing to see how they carry those absolute rules right through their schooling career. We use it as teachers at Clifton right up until grade 7. Remember the psychomotor rules. So that's really where it all starts. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Lorna. I think one of the main areas of the school obviously is boarding as well, and our hurt-free policy and our bringing out of the best in the children does continue through boarding deliberately too. Mr. Majula, would you mind chatting us through how we run the boarding houses in terms of our tutor system and our support systems there?
Brilliant. Thank you. So we have interns that are studying to be teachers that are involved in the boarding houses. We have 6 males in Usher House and 5 girls in Sutcliffe House. And they are there to oversee and assist children, but obviously with the house parents of the relevant houses to oversee them, to make sure that they are doing the best that they can for the kids, and just to make them comfortable and help them with everyday life living and assist them when they can. And that's the main thing, just to make sure that the house is a home away from home as best you can do for the kids. Thank you. I hope that has answered the questions.
Thank you very much, Justice, and thanks for your input there. Obviously, folks, a happy child is one that can maximise their potential in the classrooms as well. So our focus on the child's well-being is very much a main intent of ours. One of the questions that has popped up, and perhaps I can pass this to you, Mr. Kurtz, is a question about the proportion of day scholars to boarders and boys to girls. That's from Paul Yanish. Thank you for your question.
Yes, thanks for your question. Paul, yeah, in terms of boarding and day scholars, roughly two-thirds of the children are day scholars and a third are boarders. And yes, I mean, a lot of parents are seeing, obviously there are a number of high schools in the area, and reputable high schools. I mean, we're a little enclave of educational excellence in the Midlands. So a lot of the parents are seeing this as a gateway to going into high school, so they will often arrive in senior primary, grade 4, grade 5, with the view to getting their children ready for boarding, and then to move on to then high school and be ready. So the transition from primary from Clifton to the various schools in the area is then seen as a seamless one. So, but day scholars 2/3, boarders 1/3. And as far as boys, we've got slightly more boys than girls. So I think the split is roughly sort of 55-45 in terms of boys as to girls.
Thanks, Vic. Folks, another question from Wendy Saint Slater. Wendy, we're interested in hearing about our robotics program and asking if this is a subject on its own or an after-schools club. I'm very proud to say it's part of our curriculum. We run a subject called STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. Thanks, Vic. And Mr. Gary Mortimer and Sipho Mkonza on this is, with the help of Mr. Lee Stopford. STEAM is very much a part of getting children to think about problem solving and all the relevant bits and pieces there. So it's an hour-long lesson during a week, and there's a robotics club that Robotics runs as and when time allows in the afternoons too. Miss Angie Mitchell-Innes, you asked about the maximum amount of students per class. That varies of course to the size of the classrooms. So around the grade 4 mark, we're looking at 17 to about 21 bodies in a class, and further up as we go, it's as many as 25, that being the absolute maximum. Lauren James, you've asked about how Clifton is working with COVID-19 protocols and online learning, and I can see, if you see the sweat on my brow, I can say very, very well. We've taken huge advice from the Hilton Life Hospital, working through our sister Rose Kamwara, and basically anything sort of gazetted by the government has been put into place. We've made our classes into pods rather than classes to allow for social distancing. We have separate play areas just now, separate ablution facilities, and we're obviously sticking to the rules and what's the best word? The outlines supplied to us by the government. So far so good. Children have washed their hands like never before. Social distanced is still a bit of a task and process, but we're getting there, and we're very proud of how we're handling those. Quite honestly, children are our children as well. We want the best for them and for the people who come onto Clifton campus. Vic, you like to add to that?
Yeah, can I just add something there too? I think what's important and what we're blessed with is the size of our campus. As we've said, between sort of 55, 60 hectares, and that has allowed us to be creative with the spaces that we've got. And so certainly, that has been a distinct advantage for us from a sporting point of view, and as I say, from the facility point of view, with regards creative use of classrooms.
Thank you, Vic. Obviously, sport has been a big contention during COVID-19, and with regulations being hopefully played down to level 1, and we do appreciate you tuning into us rather than the president this evening. We should see the restrictions being lifted still further. Ms. Stephen Gwenya, your daughter would like to know about netball. Unfortunately, netball is not one of the sports we offer at Clifton. The best we can offer those basketball, and that happens sort of twice a week.
Fourth term, yeah.
Slater Farms, you were asking about outside ballet and dancing teachers who come to the school for weekly boarders. COVID again has raised its head there, so that's been prevented just now. My daughter, for a brief while, until she inherited her father's dancing genetics, was quite keen on dancing. So I can tell you that the dancing teachers do come to school, and not just for weekly boarders, for day scholars as well. So that is an optional extra, and it certainly is available. I'm getting used to the... Thank you. Thanks. Mrs. Witherspoon, could I bring you in to chat about the Braveheart policy or the Braveheart scholarships for now?
Sure, Pete. Hi, everyone. So our Braveheart Scholarship Program is open to children coming into grades 5 and 6. And the main objective or the point of the program is to acknowledge excellence. But in saying this is definitely not our main objectives. The main objective is to really acknowledge character and to ensure that the children are aligned to our values. Just in terms of the process, it's via application, and we usually start advertising for this on various forms of media, but mainly our social pages as well as our website. For this year, it is closed and the process is concluded. But for next year, please, if you are looking at only joining Clifton in the senior primary for next year, keep an eye on our social media pages and on our website, and look out for information around June next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kerry. See, there are some questions starting to come in around tours and competitions and sports. Mrs. Brewer, I wonder if I could flick back to you and just unpack our philosophy in the junior primary around trips and outings, how they're undertaken and how we feel about those.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pete. Yes, so in the junior primary, we're quite unique, I think, in the fact that obviously our little people, Clifton Cubs and the double noughts and noughts, they do day trips throughout the year. And then as of grade 1, our very, very brave little grade 1s head off on their first overnight trip. So we tend to have around 3 overnight trips per year. In the third term, we do have our school production, or junior primary production, should I say. So we tend to then just do day trips. But they go on overnight trips and have a wonderful, wonderful time. It generally ties in with the theme that they're busy with in class, if we can make that happen. And there certainly are highlights. I think there's certain trips that stand out for the children. It's a wonderful experience for them to grow, and the bonds that are formed through those little overnight trips, right through to grade 7. It's just really an invaluable experience for them. Thanks, Pete.
I can certainly attest to that, the bonds that Lorna speaks of being formed. Our highlights are sort of our pinnacle tours, our grade 7 trip to Botswana. currently under review, thanks Mr. COVID. That involves a 10-day trip off to Botswana into the wilds of Africa, and really, as Mrs. Brewer says, that's where bonds are formed, and children really get down to grassroots in terms of the learning. The trips are not purely for recreational value, they are all educationally sound and educationally structured, and our teachers are very much part of the programs as well. Mr. Kurtz has just reminded me to say that school trips are encompassed or included in school fees, so there are no additional extras that might sneak up on those end of month arrivals. Sorry, John.
Can I just say something? Maybe just with regards to the school fees, just to mention that the school fee structure is a one-stop shop. So when you are looking at the website and looking at the school fees, it covers everything. So school trips, meals, etc. So for day scholars, your meals, your tea and your lunch is included, and obviously an afternoon tea snack as well. Obviously for boarders all meals are included, but certainly the intention behind the school fee structure is that it's a one-stop shop. There are no pop-ups on your account, and obviously if you are going to be maybe taking horse riding though, or buying something from the school shop, that would then be reflected on the school account. But it just reminded me with regards to school trips, it's all included. You will know what you're in for when you look at the websites and see the school fees.
Thank you, Vic. A few questions coming around the sporting facilities. Nicola L., would you ask about cycling or mountain biking? Absolutely. We're a very proud host of the Joburg to Sea event, which is our primary fundraiser for the year. And I don't know it's whether the cyclists inspire the children or the children inspire the cyclists, but we have our boarders tearing around on mountain bikes with helmets on, of course, every afternoon. We've got wonderful facilities in the Top Woods area above us, and there's some single track available there as well. Murray Bredon, you ask about horse riding. Horse riding is very much available. It's an optional extra, and there's some horses that have been there longer than I've been at Clifton, which I won't tell you that number, but very much a part of what we do. And there's a lot of horse sense that's involved in what we do too. Cycling. Oh, choir. Sorry, Stephen Gwen, I beg your pardon, I missed yours. Do we have a choir? Yes, very much so. COVID has prevented us from involving it as much as we would like to, although we did have a bit of a choir session this afternoon. There's a junior primary choir called the Cliftones, and then a senior primary choir. In addition, we have a school band and a variety of marimba bands as well. So children are exposed to as much as we can involve them there.
Can I just add something there?
Of course we can.
Sorry, if I could just add in terms of, I think what also is unique is that from grade 1 right through to grade 7, expressive arts is very much part of the Clifton experience. So we've got a dedicated drama, arts and music teacher, and grade 1s from grade 1 to grade 7, it's as much of a fully fledged subject as a maths or an English or a geography would be. So they go to those lessons. What we also have in grade 3 is we've bought a bank of violins, recorders, clarinets and guitars, and so part of the music component of the music syllabus, the children rotate through those 4 instruments, and so they're getting an opportunity to say, I actually quite enjoy the violin, and that then feeds into, as Pete was saying, the senior primary band or orchestra, which plays at a number of functions, and obviously a lot of peripatetic staff come to Clifton as well, so teaching the violin, voice, guitar, drums, clarinet. Although we're in the country, we're certainly not exempt from having peripatetic music staff arriving and augmenting what we already offer. So expressive arts takes its rightful place as far as Clifton's offerings is concerned.
Thanks, Vic. Jason McCormick, 2 questions from you. One, what is the ideal age for children to start at Clifton Notties? And the second, which I'll pass to Mrs. Brewer, is the number of children per class in grade 1. Mr. McCormick, I can tell you that the sooner the better, quite honestly. My own son will start at Clifton next year, which might be an anti-marketing thing actually to say. He'll be in grade 00, and the Clifton Cubs of Mrs. Crawford. And I must just say that from the very, very onset, every single child feels part of the family, and they're made to feel part of the family deliberately too. Mrs. Brewer, could I pull you in there to answer the question regarding class teacher and children in grade 1?
Absolutely, Pete. Okay, Jason, thanks so much for your question. To explain, in the junior primary, grade 1, 2, and 3, we have 2 classes per grade, and the numbers are capped at 18 children per class. We also have an intern in each grade, available to help on either side, but it's capped at 18.
Thanks very much, Lorna. Mr. Majula, a question regarding boarders from Mr. Klaba. How many boarders are grouped into the rooms at the boarding house? I think, sir, you'll need to be aware that COVID has made that our answer slightly different to a non-COVID. So, Mr. Majula, I'll hand to you to handle that, please.
I'm answering from a normal position in terms of the housing would be 6 per dorm, and in boys' house, and then in girls' house it's the same number, with a cubicle which is bunk bed, in a cubicle which houses 2. So it's usually 6, and then 2 in the girls' house, Sutcliffe House, and then Usher House will be 6 per dorm.
A question from Angie Mitchell-Innes. Distance the children need to be from school in order to be a weekly boarder. Angie, quite honestly, there is no ring fence or distance at all. We do encourage children to be boarders. It does give you a real sense of what school's really about, and we're able to support them with evening prep and getting into routines and all sorts of things necessary for high school.
And can I just come in on that one as well? Angie, yeah, certainly we sort of look at about a 40-kilometre radius, and I mean it depends from, some parents are prepared to travel longer than others, but what does happen more and more is that even local parents, so parents who live literally in Gowrie village, which is outside, just outside Clifton, they convert to weekly boarders in grade 6 or grade 7 in preparation for high school. And as I say, the feedback that we get, and we know the advantage of being in boarding in terms of preparing them for a seamless transition to high school is that advantage is a significant one. We also trace our children, and as I said, track them, I should say, in terms of high school. So not only do we track them academically, but there's lots of feedback between the various schools that are in the area, high schools that is, and the feedback is always hugely positive. They transition seamlessly into high school, academically, sporting, culturally, and also just the rigors of boarding. So yeah, that's certainly a trend that we are seeing happening more and more.
Thanks, Vic. While I've got you on the screen, a question asking, what is a family in for when they join Clifton Notties? What is life like in Nottingham Road? I'll let you handle it.
Just repeat the question again, Pete.
What is a family in for when they join Clifton Notties, and what is life like in Nottingham Road?
What is a family in for? Okay, that is a very broad question. The family, I think it's very much a community, and I think that is something that we're finding more and more, is that the numbers, as far as the numbers are concerned, I'm interviewing people every day, and I think it's a lifestyle choice. So we talk, the word semigration has been mentioned a number of times. I think moving to the Midlands is the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands is the next best thing possibly to immigrating for some people. And so what is life like? I think you're going to be buying into a lifestyle which is community driven, community orientated. You will certainly find your niche, and certainly our Parents Association is a very, very active one. So when I meet new parents and interview them, I encourage them to get involved. And there is a sense of, if you're emotionally invested, and that's what I would say our parents are. Our parents are emotionally invested in their children. And when you're emotionally invested in your children, you then are going to want to participate at school. And that's what we're finding more and more. So our Parents Association is a very active one and a very supportive one. For me, it's about parents, children, teachers all working together for the same cause, and that is for the betterment of our children, for our children. I hope that answers that question.
Thanks, Vic. Slater Farms, do scholars require their own electronic devices, or does the school provide? Yes, the school does provide. We're very proud to have a bank of 100 iPads and 3 gents in the IT department who are very clued up and able to help with IT issues. Insofar as schoolwork, research and projects, those iPads are I suppose, shuffled out a book between the teachers, and they're available to the children in the afternoons as well, should they need to be.
Can I just add there, sorry, just want to add that certainly at a junior primary and pre-primary level, the screen time is limited significantly as far as IT is concerned. So grade 3, they start with a little bit of the basics of research, but certainly it's the iPads, the bank of iPads are predominantly, largely for the senior primary, and the Google platform is what we've used while online with the COVID situation, and exciting developments are there in terms of the Google platform, and but certainly junior primary, very limited use of time. We don't want to burden little eyes with too much online activity.
Speaking of online activity, I see I've got a correction to my statement from our Clifton STEAM department. It's not about word processing; it's about design and computational thinking. So I hope that adds the STEAM question or the robotics question earlier. A school bus question from Howick, only operating from Monday to Friday. Yes, the school bus does drive from Howick, and it's only during weekdays, departure and return as well.
Yeah.
Mrs. Campbell, thank you for your question, and I'll pass this across to Mr. Majula regarding closed weekends for boarders. Mr. Majula, the question is, are some weekends closed for boarders?
Yes, thank you. Correct. So most of our term 1, definitely a closed weekend for our boarders, term 2, and then we just see how the children settle into boarding. Term 3, we give them that option to stay in, and then obviously in term 4 would be the same. But it's just to get the children settled, and the quicker they settle into the environment and getting used to each other, because it's the only one time that the whole boarding establishment is all together as a group over a closed weekend. Otherwise, your weekly boarders are out, and then we usually plan activities around those closed weekends as well. So fourth term, generally, it's not a closed weekend, and our third term, we look at it in terms of the needs that we require in terms of the children settling in. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Majula. Wendy Slater asks, what grade do children choose their second language, i.e. drop Afrikaans and take isiZulu? Mrs. Slater, we like to be cautious in this. So at the end of grade 3, you'll find children and their parents making the first decision. And so, for example, that would take them through to, in grade 4, doing, in your case, dropping Afrikaans and taking isiZulu. To make sure that they write the decision, we do have a conversational half hour per week just to keep them in touch with that third language. And then at the end of grade 5, we'll have another sort of check in with the children. Have you made the right choice? Are you comfortable? If so, then adjust to what the children's needs or parental needs are. I hope that answers your question. Mr. Ngwenya, thank you for your question. How to support high or low achievers? It's a wonderful question. We're very proud to be able to answer that. Obviously, every school does have a huge range of children, and perhaps, Mr. Kurtz, if I could pass that question across to you.
Yes, okay. So in terms of support for low achievers or those with possibly learning support, the structure as far as Clifton is concerned, we are blessed. We have a learning support unit, and if I'll just talk very briefly to the structure of that unit, there's a academic learning support person who's a qualified remedial therapist. So we have 2 remedial therapists. We have an educational psychologist on campus as well. We've got 2 occupational therapists, and we've got a speech therapist. Obviously, there are 2 levels, those who are needing more specialized intervention and those who are needing a more generalized, but certainly a lot of support is given for those who've got varying needs. So it could be dyslexia, or it could be ADHD, or whatever else is then diagnosed. But we are blessed to have these people on campus. Certainly, we have a lady whose role it is to head curriculum and develop curriculum, And part of her part of her mandate is to be supporting teachers in terms of finding resources, etc., for, I suppose, what could be termed gifted children who are needing to be extended. And so there's an acute awareness of the need to extend the children too. It's not just those who are struggling, but for those who need to be extended. And certainly we are very mindful of that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kaba, a question regarding the Joburg Termly bus and children allowed to fly in from further places. Just before I hand you to Mr. Majola regarding the bus answer, I can tell we do have children from a variety of countries. As the video mentioned, 6 African countries and currently 1 child in Dubai as well. So it's not foreign for us to have children from other countries. They do like the Clifton arrangement. They do like the high schools into which we feed, and we love having them from the cosmopolitan angle they add to our offering as well. Mr. Majola, I wonder if I could ask you to pick up on comments or an explanation regarding the Johannesburg bus and the Durban bus as well.
Thank you. At the start of the year, the Joburg bus is not available, and then towards the end of 4th term, the Joburg bus is not available. But the end of term or 1st term, there's a bus available, and how parents would book that, Mrs. Kurtz, our school secretary, will send out a message to say if they're requiring the Durban bus or the Joburg bus, or obviously a trip to the airport, which we then have a school driver, and then we have a lady that takes our boarders to Joburg, to Zoo Lake, and then the Durban bus goes to the pavilion. That service is available, I've said, for the start of the year and the end of the year, half term, end of term, and then also start of term and half term as well. The start of the half term, there's a pickup and a drop-off available for parents.
Mr. Majola, is that for an additional cost?
Correct, yeah, that would be for an additional cost for those buses and that service. And that is also includes your... Okay, that's right. Thank you.
Mr. Ngwenya, question?
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Carry on, Mr. Majola.
And that also, the airport run is obviously the parents would have to send in the supporting documentation, and then the school will give a letter supporting if there's those are international children flying, and if we've got all available documentation, then we're happy to transport the children and also to pick them up from the airport to the start of term as well.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ngwenya, a question from you regarding the subjects offered in grade 6 and 7. These are pretty standard across the board in the senior primary. So English and first additional language, which is your Afrikaans or isiZulu. History and geography we combine into what we call integrated studies. Along with that is natural science. We're very proud to offer music, art and drama in our expressive arts centre as well, and PE to keep children on their toes. So it's much the same as you would find in many schools. As I mentioned, STEAM is another component there as well. So we like to feel that's the best curriculum offering we can do. Aside from the subjects offered, we do have time in the morning, every morning, to read, and built into the curriculum is time with the tutor as well. So we're watching the academic and emotional needs of children as we go along. Mr. Ngwenya, further to that, I see you asking for a recent parent survey. I think Mrs. Witherspoon will be in touch with you via email, if that's okay, to bring you into contact with her. And Slater Farms buses to northern KZN or Free State areas, I'm afraid not. That certainly I don't, Mr. Chris, that in the offering yet.
No, but I think what does happen is in terms of the Free State, I mean, I think the closest to that would be a stop off at in Harrismith, so that certainly is a possibility. But we're not, and they do stop in Harrismith, but certainly Northern Free State. But look, I mean, things are flexible and it's going to be demand driven, whatever decision is made. But at this stage, Northern Natal or as I say, Free State, we do stop, and that is in Harrismith. But again, we're flexible along the route if there needs to be a stop.
Spiritual growth, a question from Mr. Chris Mayer. Thank you very much. Great presentation, and thank you for the feedback. How does the school support spiritual growth? Mr. Mayer, I'm going to hand you to Mr. Kurtz, who does our assemblies, and I'll top up the answer with perhaps some answers about our Students' Association.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chris. Yes, Chris, we are a Christian school, and proud of that. I am an ordained lay minister myself, so certainly for me spirituality is vitally important. Our assemblies, we are non-denominational, so obviously all denominations are welcome, and it's made abundantly clear to parents that we are a Christian school. So my assemblies certainly take on a strong Christian feel, if you like, theme. There's always a chorus that's sung. There's also a Bible message or a moral. The Lord's Prayer is sung sometimes, or just a prayer. So there's a strong moral focus. That is from grade 1 to grade 7 on a Monday, and then on a Tuesday, I think Lorna, if she does want to say anything more, there's a junior primary, pre-primary assembly that is then had on a Tuesday as well. So for some children, there are two assemblies. But for us, the Christian ethos is something I protect fiercely.
Just to add to that, Chris, as I mentioned earlier, there's a Hearts for Jesus Association, which runs during the week as well, and what we call our hidden curriculum, all those 21st century competencies and the nice to have, so, the moral compass, if you like, are involved in everything we do in our tutor assemblies, in our tutor discussions, and I hope in the way we act and work at Clifton. Mrs. Slater, a question from Mrs. Brewer. If a child is commencing grade 1 next year, at what point is it likely that a teacher would start identifying that a child might be displaying ADD or ADHD? I'll hand that question across to you, Mrs. Brewer, if you don't mind.
Wendy, thank you for your question. Yes, certainly grade 1 is the first year of formal, and I say that in inverted commas, but yes, formal learning. So in terms of picking up things like ADD or ADHD, it certainly starts to become more evident in a more formal classroom setting. You allude to it in your question that certainly it is a varied thing in terms of child to child, but our teachers are very, very much aware of all the signs to look out for, and along with the support team that Victor mentioned, we have frequent meetings. Myself as HOD, I have weekly meetings with my teachers. We discuss each and every child individually on a weekly basis. So certainly any red flags that come up or any concerns are dealt with quickly and promptly. And certainly, the sooner intervention can begin for a little person, the better, especially in these very, very important foundational years. So I hope I've answered your question.
Thanks, Mrs. Brewer. Vic, you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, I think what has been said before is that's the advantage of a small school, small classes. So the class size that Lorna referred to earlier allows for that. Children slipping through the cracks. When you're looking at a class of 16, 17 in junior primary, or 14, 15, the individual attention is there, and that is obviously allows for quick detection of concerns. So small classes certainly prove their value and have their worth.
Thank you very much, Vic. I hope that answers the question. Ladies and gents, one aspect which hasn't been questioned yet is how we uphold our traditions and the sort of the history of the school. And that's an area I'd like to chat to for a minute or two, if I may. We're very, very proud of the traditions that we have at Clifton, and this COVID process, most recently and anecdotally, I suppose, has given us a chance to spend more time with the children, exploring what's special about Clifton and getting them back to grassroots and learning to do things like speed down a hill on a bobsled, as you might have seen in the video. Shoot a catty at a target, not rabbits or birds. A little bit of fishing in the pool, and really just celebrating what the size of the campus has to offer us. So, in as much as we focus ourselves in the classrooms and are very proud of our academic offering and our sports offering, we do allow a bit of a green lung to take control of the children as well, and allow them to have the space and the freedom to express themselves out there. Building forts is very much a part of what we do. It isn't just a lip service which might pop up, and certainly this afternoon I was spending some time with my grade 7s making clay oxen at Clare Mine. So we do take some time to be children, even the adults, and we're proud of that too. A typical weekend for the boarders. I hope I haven't blown all the answers in my little rant there, Mr. Majula. A typical weekend, what would that be like for the boarders, Mr. Majula?
Well, we're very lucky that we have resident staff staying in on our property, so which allows us for us to use them on weekends to do duty, and then part of their mandate is to make sure they've got activities for the kids to keep them entertained. So, which might be a walk up to the beacon, it might be a picnic, it might be a swim in the school pool. It might be going to the school dam or clay fights. Those playing open gates. Those are major things that I can't even say them in all in this short space of time. The amount of things that we are able to do with the kids, just to make sure that they're okay. But also, we just also got to keep in mind is that the week is quite busy, and also sports on Saturday in general, and sometimes they also need to rest. So we always keep that in mind, and that also allows us to show them a movie in the evening, mainly on a Saturday, and then they also get an item of tack just to relax and just enjoy each other's company and watch a movie, because that's the only time that they actually get screen time to watch TV is only over the weekend. Yeah, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Majula. Folks, I've noticed the questions are starting to dry up. I'm hoping that's because we're answering them properly and we're not boring you. I might just pop around. Mrs. Brewers, anything you'd like to add from a junior primary perspective that has come to mind that you'd like to make mention of?
Thank you, Pete. Yes, you might regret giving me the platform here. No, I think really, parents, just to say to you that, yeah, certainly, perhaps I don't know if I'm speaking here just from a junior primary perspective, but, you know, as Mr. Kurtz said earlier, we have got the most beautiful campus with an enormous amount of space. And I really think it's important to mention that we make use of it. So, you know, on a typical day in the junior primary, if you were to walk around during class time, you may just come across a few children in a tree reading. I know the same is true in our senior primary. They've got the beautiful maple tree. We're quite jealous about that. But yeah, you know, we really do make use of the outdoors. So we've got lovely big classrooms with smart boards and all the stuff, all the mod cons that you could ask for. But it's important to us that children really, really, you know, enjoy the outdoors, and it's a wonderful space for children to learn optimally. I think that's something that we really, really enjoy doing. And yeah, just to say that our focus always is firmly on, and I know it's said in the video a number of times, but on holistic education. You know, so I think if someone tried to pin us down and say, you know, where is your focus as a school, I think firmly our answer would be on a holistic education and growing children in every aspect. So Pete, that's from me. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lorna. Mr. Kurtz, from yourself?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Pete. I was just thinking as I was sitting and reflecting, in fact, all four of us that have been speaking, five of us, have got children. My children are 27 and 23. Both my children came through Clifton. I've been head of Clifton for 6 years, and all of us have something in common, that we've got children or have had children come through Clifton. And my two children are very different, and Clifton got them. They understood them. And as I say, for me, children can be children at Clifton. When we say, and you saw that sign which said free range children, free range there can mean lots of things to different people, but free range doesn't mean that anything goes. Free range means children can be children with boundaries. There is a rigor. There's a rigor at Clifton. And as I say, we're preparing them for, yes, high school, and very good high schools in the area or beyond nationally. But at the end of the day, the heart of the matter, as Lorna has said, apart from holistic education, is the philosophy is child-centered. It's about the individual. and hence again talks to the smaller classes where we can focus on the individual and can focus on the child. So I'm a proud headmaster of Clifton, and as I say, have been for 6 years, and I really do hope that you've enjoyed this opportunity to meet part of the team and gain some insight into what Clifton is all about.
Thanks very much, Vic. A question from Slater Farmers, Mr. Majula. What is your policy on phoning parents and cell phones in the senior grades? If we send cell phones, at what times may they phone parents and how often? Mr. Maj?
Brilliant. Just on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we allow children to phone between 4:30 until 4:45 minutes. So they have those days available, which we saw as an important day to be able to make travel arrangements and have those things in order if they're going out with a friend, because we do not let children, from a boarding perspective, go out without permission. It's one of our stance that we hold. And then also to make communication with parents on a Sunday as well. Those are all locked away. We try and restrict the amount of time on cell phones. They do take, and this is done to make sure that the children are using the school campus and exploring and playing with each other and playing your open gates and actually talking to each other, as we see devices as things that are, cell phones especially, they take away from that. And that's us making sure that we still upholding what the school stands for and what we want the children to explore and just wonder about life. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Major. That dovetails beautifully with the question from a proud old girl. Does Clifton still offer hikes over the weekends? Absolutely. We're very proud to have Mrs. Cindy Jonker as one of the mountain rescue guides and certainly a seasoned hiker and camper herself. As an example, in our fourth term calendar, we've got hikes off to Carrickle Cave and the Arsville Caves in the Highmoor Reserve. And I'm surely as COVID releases its grip on us, we'll be opening up for more and more hiking. But hiking, absolutely, very much part of what we do and who we are. Thank you for that lovely question. Ladies and gents, I see that questions are, as I said, drying up. If there are any questions that we haven't answered or that might come to you after the presentation, please do feel free to contact the school electronically, and we'll do the best to pass the question on to the relevant person. But just in closing, thank you so very much for joining us. It's been a wonderful evening to reflect on what we do and how we do it, and indeed why we do it. And thank you for your questions and thank you for your time. We wish you a wonderful rest of the year and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.